This is episode 6 of the T-Shirt Teacher, and we're jumping right back into Hamlet where we left off, and Ballad where we left off, except we're jumping a little ahead in Ballad. And in Hamlet, we find that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Hamlet's friends that have arrived, and they finally admit to him, yes, they have been sent for by his uncle, who is now the king, and his mother, who's the queen, because they want to cheer Hamlet up. And Hamlet gets a little excited about the play that they say that they have brought actors to perform a play to cheer Hamlet up. He's internally not excited, but he's acting excited about it. And Polonius, who is the advisor to the king, also Laertes and Ophelia's father, he's just kind of always hanging around because he's the advisor to the king. He says that, oh, I was in a play once. It's kind of like when an old man is reminiscing. And he says that he played the part of Brutus in Julius Caesar. Now, to understand the part of Brutus and what Hamlet says next, you have to understand that Shakespeare also wrote a play that it was entitled Julius Caesar. And in Julius Caesar, there is lots of political corruption, and the character Brutus is Caesar's close friend and ends up in the conspiracy to kill Caesar. And Caesar, as he's dying, says, "Et tu, Brute," and it's very dramatic because Caesar has become too powerful. And because he has become too powerful, even Brutus, his close friend, has turned against him and stabbed him in the back, so to speak. And Brutus is a very interesting character in that play, which we can get into later. But so understanding the framework and who Polonius played in Julius Caesar, and he says that he played Brutus, and Hamlet's response, it's all pieces of the puzzle. Hamlet says, it was a brute part of him to kill so capital a calf. Be the players ready? He's asking if the actors that are going to perform the play for them are ready. But when he says a brute part, he's making a pun, Brutus, to kill so capital a calf. He's almost saying that he would empathize with Julius Caesar, even though Julius Caesar was corrupt, it seems. It seems that he understands that Caesar was robbed of his throne, whether or not Caesar needed to step down from power, basically. And I think Hamlet sort of is viewing himself as Caesar, and he fears the plot against his life. That's my perception of it. There's a lot of different interpretations. Then we see the play. And remember, Hamlet has talked to the actors and has gotten them to insert some lines and make their own little brief play, because that's how he's going to, remember, catch the king. As Hamlet's play progresses, we see the actor queen say, "A second time I kill my husband dead, when second husband kisses me in bed." That's from Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2, lines 181 to 182. And the queen, that was the actor, she's telling her dying husband that she's not going to betray him because it would be like killing him again if she remarried after his death. So, the queen and king are sitting there watching the play with Hamlet, and Ophelia's there too. We'll get more into that later. And they were like, what's the name of this play? And Hamlet, keep in mind, Hamlet knows the play because he wrote it. They just don't know that. He says, "The Mousetrap," indicating he knows what he's doing. He is setting a trap. In Scene 3, Lucianus, the nephew, poisons the actor king in the same manner that Claudius, according to the ghost of Hamlet's father, killed him. That, of course, quickly upsets King Claudius. As the actor nephew poisons the king in the play, the real king, King Claudius, quickly rises and he exits. He is absolutely freaked out about this play, which is exactly what Hamlet wanted. Then we see that Hamlet is speaking to Horatio because the king has been very upset and left, and also Hamlet and his friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern have a little conversation where he basically is saying that you're not really my friends, you don't understand what's going on. And we see that Guildenstern is still trying to get Hamlet to tell him what's going on, and he says that he has greatly upset his mother and he needs to go see her, and that is in Act 3, Scene 2, on line 307. "The queen, your mother, in most great affliction of spirit, has sent me to you." And Hamlet replies, "You are welcome," to Guildenstern. Guildenstern says, Nay, good my lord, this courtesy is not of the right breed. If it shall please me to make a wholesome answer, I will do your mother's commandment. If not, pardon me, and I shall return to the end of my business. And then they just go back and forth, and basically Hamlet will not tell them anything. In scene 3, Act 2, lines 362 through 370, Hamlet accuses Guildenstern and Rosencrantz of playing him like a recorder. And he says, "Why, look, you now, how unworthy a thing you make of me. You would play upon me. You would seem to know my stops. You would pluck out the heart of my mystery. You would sound me from my lowest note to the top of my compass. And there is much music, excellent voice in this little organ, yet you cannot make it speak. Sblood, do you think I am easier to be played on than a pipe? Call me what instrument you will. Though you can fret me, you cannot play upon me." He's saying he's not going to tell them what's going on because he does not trust them, basically. Jumping over to Ballad, we see Coriolanus has similar sorts of attitudes. And on page 161 of Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Coriolanus answers the question of what to do with endless war. He says, in any scenario, it's preferable to have the upper hand, to be the victor rather than the defeated, which we can kind of see with Hamlet. He is doing his best to make sure he has the upper hand on every situation. And then on page 163, Coriolanus says he hopes that his classmate Sejanus doesn't run off because I might need a favor. It's more evidence of Snow's true selfish nature. And on page 171 at the bottom, we see that Snow is happy that Lucy performs well because he knows his success hinges on her success in the games. But he's also jealous of the attentions she's getting. This is a person that is supposed to mentor someone that is going to their death. And he's jealous of the attention she's getting. Snow is just an awful, awful person. On page 172, we see Snow's inner monologue, and he tells us that he's upset that Lucy Gray had a lover because she sings about him in the song. And we see he didn't want her himself at this point, but he's upset in that I don't want anybody else to have her, but I don't want her sort of attitude that we see in so many characters that are controlling. He also is upset that the song that she sang was not his idea. That's more evidence of his controlling nature. And then on page 173, he assumes that she may be offering favors to peacekeepers, revealing he's really suspicious of her and has a very low opinion of her. He thinks she is trading her body for food, for whatever. He sees her as possibly a prostitute, and he just has this low opinion, not even thinking about the potential that she may be having to do that to survive, because he has lived in this illusion for so long. We see Hamlet treating Ophelia in a similar manner when he suggests multiple times that she should go to a nunnery or get thee to a nunnery because she's in the way of his success, his ambition, and she's not of high enough station to be his wife. But he's also disillusioned with marriage. So we see similar treatment of the women in the books by the main characters. And then on page 180, Snow discusses in school the assigned paper, the ability to control things, and revenge were some of the things he liked the best about war. Imagine that. Snow, Coriolanus Snow, loves revenge, very much like Hamlet. And page 182, he says, what he desired had little to do with nobility and everything to do with being in control. That's Coriolanus Snow. And then on page 183, Snow becomes angry with Sejanus, his classmate, because he sides with the rebels and he supports the war that left him an orphan. Basically, he doesn't understand how Sejanus can be pro-district whenever Coriolanus himself is an orphan because of the war. He doesn't think about the fact that Sejanus is losing people and has lost people as well. On page 185, we do see a little hint of Snow's humanity. He hopes that Lucy possibly has a chance of surviving the games, but then we quickly see him jump right back into his plotting. He has moments, I would argue, that Coriolanus Snow has moments of humanity. He just denies them so greatly that he ends up this terrible person because he is so determined that control and survival are going to be his ultimate goal. And mainly control. His control of every situation is his idol. That is what he is living for. He feels like if he cannot control everything, then the world will not be right. On page 192 through 193, we see Coriolanus Snow giving Lucy a little compact to store rat poison in, which is probably against the rules of the Hunger Games. But again, remember, Coriolanus Snow is a cheater. He is out for controlled revenge. He's going to do whatever it takes to get on top. On page 227, Coriolanus thinks about how Sejanus is always trying to do the right thing and realizes he can manipulate his classmate out of the situation he's gotten himself into. And Snow only cares because it will save his butt. He doesn't really care about Sejanus. The theme of revenge in both Hamlet and Ballad is seen throughout the book. We see it very often with Hamlet. He wants to, I would say, avenge more than revenge, but it turns from trying to avenge to simple revenge in the end. That's my claim about the character of Hamlet. Now, Coriolanus, it's very much revenge throughout. The brief glimpses we get of him being relatable are so brief that he is such an easy to hate character. Even seeing his backstory, because sometimes you'll see a villain backstory and say, oh, that makes sense, poor guy. There's not many redeeming qualities about Coriolanus Snow. On page 242, he says, this is Coriolanus Snow, I wanted them dead. I wanted every one of them dead. On page 243, Snow blames the circumstances, which was Dr. Gall sending him into the arena to retrieve Sejanus, because Sejanus has gone into the arena at night to try and bury the body, or to, in a dignified manner, prepare the body of his classmate that got thrown in the Hunger Games from the other district. And they have done horrible things to Marcus, his classmate. And he is going in there as an act of rebellion. Nobody sees it. They cut it off the TV. It's edited because everything is propaganda and controlled by the government, obviously. So anyway, they send Coriolanus in after Sejanus, thinking that Coriolanus is his friend and he can talk some sense into him. However, it does exactly, I'd say, what Dr. Gall wants it to do. She wants Coriolanus to be angry and to feed on that revenge. She knows his character. She's very smart. She's very evil and selfish as well, but she's very smart. In going into the arena to retrieve Sejanus, Coriolanus has to kill someone in self-defense. And he blames the circumstances. He says it's the circumstances that made him do it. But Dr. Gall disagrees when she talks to him. Dr. Gall says it's not the circumstances, but his character that made him do it. And basically that all humans, at their base nature, it's kill or be killed. That is her belief. And I do think she heavily influenced Coriolanus's evolving beliefs about humanity. If there was a shred of good in him, Dr. Gall definitely influenced it out of him. At the end of the day, he had a choice to make, though. And we could get into fate versus free will and that deeper question in both books. And we will, potentially. An entirely different video. That is something we'll have to go even deeper to explore. See you next time on the T-Shirt Teacher. And today's T-shirt is, I'm silently correcting your grammar. I'm an editor. I love this T-shirt. I used to be a high school English teacher. I am an author. Now, I would argue that I'm not always silently correcting your grammar. Sometimes I'll do it out loud. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful day and keep watching the T-Shirt Teacher. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe.